What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome to episode 15 of season 3 of This Week in Baseball, presented by Diamond Digest. I am your host, Jordan Lazowski, for this week. Sam, Joseph, Tavi will be joining me on this episode. We'll be talking a lot about the upcoming awards races as the year comes to an end. We'll also be talking about the few races for either division or wild cards that remain close. But we're coming quickly to the end of the season. Thank you for joining us through now 15 episodes. Let's get into it. First of all, how's everyone doing?
I survived.
Bengals lost.
Bengals lost. So you're wearing your Seattle stuff instead of claiming any sort of Cincinnati.
I don't own any Cincinnati merch because it's too expensive here.
So no allegiance to them whatsoever. I mean, you recently got back from a pretty interesting conference.
Yeah, well, I didn't go anywhere. It was digital. But mentally, I was in Rockford, Illinois at the International Women's Baseball Center conference that was specifically about Title IX this year. It was really, really great. They had some fantastic presenters. The presentations will be up on YouTube soon, probably within the next week. I highly recommend checking them out. There's a really, really, really fantastic presentation, especially about women in Major League Baseball, not just as coaching, but on the field as players. There's also a really, really great panel with female umpires, Perry Barber, who is an American, and an umpire from Italy and an umpire from Taiwan. And some of the challenges that they face. I mean, it's tough in the U.S. alone, which is a very baseball, it's America's pastime. It's hard enough for a woman. The challenges that they face overseas. In fact, Sophia, who in Taiwan, wasn't even allowed to touch baseballs. At one point in her career as the umpire, she was not allowed to touch a baseball.
Really?
So there's some cultural things that are going on. There's some support things that are going on. But to hear them talk is really just really inspiring. There was another really great panel with women who cover sports. Shakia Taylor was in that, who is just fantastic. She's based out of Chicago. She's phenomenal. I think I brought her up. She goes by Curly Fro on Twitter. Absolutely worth a follow. Fantastic. But just hearing, and they also had Melissa Ledke. She wasn't on the panel, but she's part of the conference. Melissa Ledke was the woman who challenged Major League Baseball for the right for women to be in locker rooms, and really just fought that fight in the 70s. And unfortunately, it's still kind of being played out in small scale across little micro things, happening. But talking about the fight that happened and how it's gotten better and how far we have to go. So it was like half extremely infuriating and half just like maybe want to punch the sun. But I really strongly suggest anyone who's listening, but especially if you are a woman who is interested in writing about baseball, like I am, it's very inspiring. It's very great. And there's just a lot of good knowledge to have about baseball, about Title IX, about where women's baseball is headed. It was really interesting because there's definitely an older and a younger crowd. The older crowd, also because A League of Their Own was released on Amazon. Justine Siegel, who won a Lifetime Achievement Award, she was actually one of the advisors on that show. So we talked a little bit about that. I repaired some of the equipment from that show. So like we all had a connection to that. So if you enjoyed that show, if you enjoyed anything to do with women's baseball, highly recommend checking that out, because there's just a lot of really cool stuff. And but at the two generations, it's funny, like the older generation wants a league of their own. Like they want kind of like the WNBA for Major League Baseball. But the younger generation is like, nah, women can do it. What up? So it's really interesting to talk about to hear about these structures that, because once a girl reaches like 11, 12, she gets shunted off into softball. Well, if she stayed in baseball and stayed with the same amount of training and conditioning and just specialization that boys get, baseball is kind of a power heavy sport, but like Trey Turner's not a heavy dude. He's just kind of a wiry, strong dude. And, there are women who can have that same build and be successful. So really interesting things to think about, really interesting things about where the sport might be headed, especially on an international level. Highly recommend checking it out.
No, thank you for sharing. And trust me, as someone who lives in Illinois, you were much better off being virtually in Rockford, Illinois, than physically there. So, but no, that sounds like an awesome experience. And hopefully, people listen to this, people see some of the highlights and some of the video that comes from it and are inspired by it. So
Yeah, if you're interested, IWBC for me on Twitter or International Women's Baseball Center.com. They'll be I'm sure they'll be posting stuff. They have a YouTube channel, which is the link will be on the website.
So yes, thank you for sharing. And like Tavi said, if you're interested, if you think it's of interest to you, or if you're just someone looking for new information, make sure to check it out. So let's jump into the standings as we start to get into some of the races we're going to talk about, both from an award standpoint as well as from a divisional standpoint. In the American League, if the season ended today, this is recorded during Sunday Night Baseball, but it's Dodgers-Giants, so this really doesn't mean much to everything I say after this. So that being said, Yankees in first place by 5.5 games in the AL East. In the AL Central, Cleveland is 3.5 games up on the Chicago White Sox. And in the West, Houston's already clinched that one. So that one's kind of done and over with. In the National League in the East, the Mets hold just a 1-game lead over the Braves. The Cardinals an 8-game lead over the Brewers in the Central. And the Dodgers they're going to want to roll some of these games over to next season with how far ahead they are.
Go for it.
In the wild card, your top 3 teams in the AL, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Seattle. Baltimore, just 4 games out. The White Sox, 5 games out. Minnesota, 7.5 out. And then after that, it kind of feels like you're done. Even at 7.5 and 5, it feels like you're done. In the wild card in the National League, the Braves, the Padres, and the Phillies are your top 3 teams. Milwaukee, just 2 games out. And then after that is the Giants at 10.5. So they're kind of done with it. So these races are starting to take shape, or taking shape, honestly, in some of the cases of the AL West and the NL West. So the West is pretty much taken care of. There are still a few interesting races, the NL East being one of them, far behind that, but somehow still competitive, the AL Central. And then I think we need to talk about the Padres too. I'll let you guys kind of start, but there are some things here that 2 weeks left in the season still have to get sorted out.
Well, we talked about the last week. I brought up that it would be interesting to see the Mariners Padres series because they are 2 teams who are different leagues, but very much kind of in a similar position when it comes to wildcard standings. And they split the series. So like they both really probably wanted to take that series, but I guess best case scenario for both teams is that they split it. And I thought that was kind of interesting. It was very close. One was a close game, and then a not very close game. Seattle put the pain down in the second game. But yeah, it was I guess best case scenario for those 2 teams,
Right?
Except for Juan Soto.
Yes, Juan Soto is having a fair share of his own issues out there, and I'm assuming. I mean, should you have been a fan of the Padres, you're looking at that team. It's like there is no reason this should even be close in the National League wild card, and somehow this is still close. I wonder, looking at a guy like Soto, what went wrong there, or what's going on? This is a long slump to just say it's a slump.
Well, like, you can blame some of it. Like, I didn't think Juan Soto was going to be like the same Juan Soto he was in Washington, just because you're moving from Washington to Petco, and Petco is like one of the worst, if not the worst, place to hit in baseball. So I expected him to slide back a little bit, but he's just gone down so much. It's just baffling because he has all the talent to put it together. It's just something is not right internally.
He's facing a lot of new pitchers too. The NL West is a more difficult division. He sees the Dodgers more often. He sees, even the Arizona Diamondbacks have given them a little bit of a problem. It's just a different set of pitchers that he's seeing more often. It's still National League, but it's a harder division. And we cannot pretend that the Tatis hullabaloo didn't have some sort of impact on the clubhouse and potentially his mental game. I think he's a really solid dude. I think he's got a really good baseball head on his shoulders. But, I mean, you saw them lining up outside of Petco. The amount of pressure that is on him is immense. And, you know, it took a week before he was getting booed? Maybe 2 weeks. So it's a completely different environment, especially, you know, what Joseph was saying about just Petco in general, but also like there's a mental element to it, not just the physical element and the way that the park is. It's a lot of pressure. He is kind of back. He had a really good game today. So I mean, he's still completely capable of it, which we all knew. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was just some kind of emotional stuff going on that might have translated into not being himself at the plate. Still got a lot of walks though. Still got that good eye.
I mean, yeah, I think like a guy like Soto, I feel like his intelligence as a player is really underestimated. Because like the guy like Soto, like if he's in the NL East, he faces like, even if guys like Fried and DeGrom are like lights out, he's the kind of guy who can like time up their fastball or any of their pitches after one game. And like I think part of what makes him so good is his ability to like retain like basically normally when a pitcher is like, oh, the third time around they don't get as good. When most pitchers face Soto, oh, it's like the 12th time around for Soto because he still gets it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then he's back to square one with a lot of these guys. So
and it is kind of a gauntlet in the West too with pitching. Like you have Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen in Arizona. You have the greatest ERA rotation probably in a while in the Dodgers. You have Logan Webb in San Francisco. It's just hard to hit.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, like I think we kind of all said, there's going to be a multitude of factors to it. I mean, you look at a team where you're the new guy on a new team, and you happen to be coming right around the same time as Tatis is out for PED. So you're in a tough situation as a player coming onto a different team like that, almost forced to feel like I'm the guy now. This is what they traded everything for.
Even if he was the guy in Washington, there was no pressure to win.
Exactly.
For as long as Juan Soto has been the guy for the Nationals were bad.
Right. And even like you'd have guys still around to kind of, you know, he was still known as the guy, but probably didn't have to feel like he was the guy. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Like the difference between like everybody else knowing you're the best player on your team, but feeling it personally, and then going to a team like a Padres and seeing the haul they give up. Now it's like, oh, I have something new to live up to. I have 5 or 6 minor league names now to live up to in terms of making that sort of investment worth it.
With like a guy like, you know, like have like Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani, they have never played for anything in their major league careers.
Gotta throw an Angels dig in there no matter what.
I mean, like Juan Soto on the Nationals was like Mike Trout on the Angels. Part of what made him so good was that there was no pressure. He could just go out there, play baseball. Whether he was good or bad, the result's probably the same in the long run.
And things will adjust. I don't see this being.
And then on the Padres, he's like, okay, if he's got to be like, if I'm bad, team's bad. If I'm good, the team's good.
Yeah, like, and I think that will adjust. Where I don't see a concern long term, but for Padres fans, you're looking at the standings, and it's like you're not. I don't want to say you're that worried because like Milwaukee's 2 games out. You're still a half. I mean, you're 2 games up on them. You're a half game up on Philadelphia. Like, do you worry? Should you worry? Do you feel like we're still the Padres and we'll take care of things over the next 2 weeks that are left? And you know,
let's just put it this way: they're playing the Cardinals in the double magic, a 3-game series coming up this week. Then they've got the Rockies, but they've got the Rockies in Colorado, which is just an absolute crapshoot. You never know. Like course field gonna course field. Sometimes it course fields for thee, and sometimes it does not. Then they've got Chicago back. Or sorry, not Chicago. Los Angeles back at home. Chicago White Sox, who are the White Sox, but there's still talent there.
Watch it.
And then they're still look. Not everyone got LaRussa, but and then they play San Francisco. So I think this next 2-week span is gonna be a test because again, Cardinals, but it's Cardinals in Petco, so who knows what kind of double magic's gonna pop up there. It'll be an interesting schedule. I still think they make the playoffs. I don't think there's. I think what I'm looking at, San Francisco is not gonna do anything. The Brewers maybe, but I think the Brewers will knock out Philly before they knock out the Padres. And I mean, mathematically, yes, that's how it would happen anyway. But I honestly think San Diego is a slightly better team than the Brewers, and then maybe I just jinx them. So who knows?
Although I do think it's interesting because if you're a National League team. Like, if you're the Phillies, the Padres, or the Brewers, you want to make the playoffs, but you do not want to be the 5 seed. Like,
you want to be the 6 seed.
Every team wants to be the 6 seed because they think they have a better shot against the Cardinals than they do the Braves.
Or the Mets.
Yeah. Because the Cardinals are a good team, but you're playing basically 3 straight in the hardest environment to play in the National League. If you go to Atlanta and then Atlanta wins the division, then you have to play in Queens, which is maybe even tougher to play in as a road team. Like, it's just not going to be fun.
Then, like, even if you're the 6th seed, you go, let's say you beat the Cardinals, like the Juan Soto hits 28 home runs in 3 games somehow. And then you face the Dodgers. And then the question is, do you want to face... Like, if you are a team, like if you're one of these teams, what's the easier road? Do you want to go Braves Mets or do you want to go Cardinals Dodgers?
I think you want to go Braves Mets because we saw like the Dodgers and Giants have a division race for the ages last year, and they were exhausted in that division series. The Dodgers were beaten up going into the championship series, and Atlanta just didn't have to make mistakes.
88 wins, your guys are pretty rested, so.
Right.
Yeah. So you're just kind of hoping maybe the same thing happens. Like, okay, the Braves are beaten up, we could beat them. The Mets are beaten up, we can beat them even with a bye. And then you just have to hope that the Dodgers get knocked out and you have a clear road to the pennant.
Or you just say, or maybe the Dodgers just go full throttle for the next 2 weeks for no reason. Because they're the Dodgers. They're
having fun.
They're going to win out. Let's say they want to win every single game, beat the record. That, I feel like we're going to reach a point in like the last series of the season where I think there is a chance that one of these like 5 or 6, like maybe the 5 seed throws a game to lower their seed.
It's a risk, but when you look at it the way you look at it, you either want.
I don't think that happens unless it comes down to the last game of the season.
Yeah,
and I'm not terribly sure.
But if you clinch,
Milwaukee's too close for comfort.
If Milwaukee doesn't end up being that close, then
I think that race goes into the last week. I mean, with 3 games, 2.5 games separating 3 teams, that's the end of it, especially given the schedule that or at least the Padres have.
I think that my bet is that one of these 3 teams either chokes or goes on a massive run to end the year. I don't think they're all going to stay like this.
Right.
Like this tightly packed group. One of those teams is going to go hot or cold. It's just a matter of which one.
I mean, I think the NL, I think the AL, maybe Baltimore gets hot, but 4 games out.
4 games is a lot at this point.
4 games is a lot at this point, and I don't know what their schedule looks like. Let's take a look.
if they like, what, Tigers?
They've got Houston, Boston, the Yankees, and Toronto.
Yeah, that might be over.
Yeah.
So,
hey, but if they sweep the Tigers, I think they got a shot.
The Tigers.
It's not a good one, but they have a shot.
The Yankees have stopped imploding for the time being, but They're one push away from going down that cliff again.
Do you think they're actually going to try by the time they're facing the Orioles?
They're going to have to. Toronto's going to sneak up on them too quick.
Yeah.
They really, like 5.5 is a lot, but you don't want to.
It's only 2 games. It's only 2 games between, or is it 2? Hold on, sorry, I'm looking wrong.
No,
you're right. You're right. Sorry, I'm looking.
Yeah, 5.5 is a lot. Like we had said, 4 was a lot, but it's like when you know you're going to have AL East teams doing battle against each other, like you can't necessarily afford to just be like, it's whatever.
Also, their last series is against the freaking Rangers.
Who is that?
Yankees. They're going to take care of business if they.
I don't know if they'll take care of business. I just don't think they're going to be like, yeah, we can sleepwalk to this. Like, I think there's 2 different mentalities.
Heck, do you think they're really going to trot out? Like, do you really think they're going to trot out Cole? Like, I think they should. I think
they're probably going to.
I think it's going to come down to what the pitcher needs to stay healthy and not what they need to.
Yeah.
Win the game.
And he's probably going to say, I don't want to take that much time off before a playoff.
Yeah.
Pitchers are hardwired in a way where it's like
they pitch every 5 days. They have
creatures of habit. Yeah, they're absolutely.
The thing is like you have enough of a cushion with like how bad the Central's been to where you don't have to worry about losing your bye. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want.
Fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, like if the
you would just have to feel that sure about the division, which I
mean they have.
I hesitate because I've seen how the Yankees have played at times this year.
I mean, okay, let's look at the Blue Jays schedule. They have Phillies, Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles.
Like when you know you have 3 against an opponent still that is right behind you, I have a hard time believing they're just going to be like, yeah, we'll take the foot off the gas a little bit. Even if it means like, yeah, they still wouldn't lose their bye, they might end up losing the division. Like that's what I would be concerned about.
Toronto is running the gauntlet for the rest of the season. They don't have an easy series in there.
Boston's not.
I think the chances of Boston like kind of sliding away by the end from the division, like even though they're definitely they're gonna be a wild card. I think the chances
Boston?
The Blue Jays.
Thank you. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, Boston is actually gonna.
I mean, technically,
Boston's gonna win out, and every other team that they're competing against is actually gonna lose out. So they're gonna win. They're gonna make it. Their elimination number might be 1, but don't let that fool you.
You can hover there. I mean, hey, the Dodgers. It's not like anyone knew when the Dodgers actually clinched anyway. So
who cares?
The thing with Toronto, like with that gauntlet of a schedule, is like you don't want to like fall behind in this AL wildcard race for the most part, because if you're Toronto, you're like, I don't want to face Tampa in the wildcard series.
Right.
I don't want to go to Seattle. You know what I mean?
Long flight.
And conversely, like if it's the Guardians that come out of the Central, I don't want to face that pitching staff either.
So there's not a win. There's not a scenario
like you have to have your foot on the gas and like try for the division, as ludicrous as it might sound.
Oh my God! Can we just talk about how Cleveland's at 79 wins and winning the division? These teams, man.
Cleveland
the Central
plays fake baseball, and you're not going to convince me on that.
Andres Jimenez is the truth.
It's the most frustrating team to watch because you're like, I can't defend against this. Like it's just speed and stupid little ground balls here. It's like I can't defend against this. Like,
if they win the World Series with less wins than the Braves?
But you look at a team like that, it's like you can see in a 3 or 5 game series just giving teams fits, and it's like. People are like, yeah, they're not good.
They're obviously good enough.
I mean, here's the thing: if they win a series, it's Cleveland all over again. Yeah, like they are like if they win their wild card, if they like their wild card series, because they're not getting a bye,
right?
If they win a playoff series, like I do not want to go to Cleveland. I don't want to go to Progressive Field to play a game. I just don't.
They're not a fun team to play.
I mean, and I think that atmosphere is like it's gonna be like Braves levels, like if they can win a series, if they get there.
And part of the issue too is it's a very easy team to overlook. It's a very easy team to be like, yeah, we got it. It's fine. even if you don't do that as a team, you do it mentally, kind of.
Yeah.
Very easy team to accidentally do that.
And then you have to face Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie, and you're screwed.
Right. And all of a sudden you're down 2-0, and
with the
it's
series
like, how did that?
going back to Cleveland.
Really, they are built for a wild card series.
Yeah, I was just looking at their roster, and it's
so aggravating.
I mean, there's a couple names that stand out, but also like Miles Straw. I haven't really thought about Miles Straw in a long time. It's not disrespect. I just haven't thought about him for a while.
You respect Miles Straw
right there.
Is this sort of like? I mean, this is an older team still. I'm looking. There's a lot of '90s babies. There's not. Oh, there's a lot of '90s babies here. So it's an older team. Man, are they giantsing? Huh? Are they 2021 giantsing? Is that what's happening here? Is that
no, not really, because they're not '80s babies.
That's true.
That's the Giants were
about this team. It's a frustration level. It's kind of like the Cardinal Devil Magic in its own form, where it's like you're not sure how they're winning games. They're doing it, and they find themselves. I mean, truly, with the White Sox and Guardians playing 3 games this week, they find themselves 1 win away from being like, "Yep, we're done here." They win one of those 3 games. It's like, yep, cool. We can coast this next week and a half because there's nothing left for us. Which is wild to say about that team. I would have never.
Well, they're playing the White Sox, the Rangers, the Rays, and they have a 6-game series against the Royals.
Right.
They're in. They're making it.
So, all they need to do is win 1 game against the White Sox, and you'd feel good. Yep, we're in.
They're taking care of business.
Yeah. Okay. Or conversely, hear me out on this one. They clone Dylan Cease 6 times and just throw nothing but Dylan Cease at you.
I feel like any major league hitting staff could time up Dylan Cease after facing him 4 times, though. In a row, 4 days straight of Dylan Cease. I feel like they could he wouldn't
just for
be
the Cleveland
shut down.
Series.
Also, look.
I don't know.
While we're talking about Cleveland, Emmanuel Clase is the best closer on the planet.
Clase is fun to watch. It's fun. It's a team where you understand at some point why they're good. Like the bullpen's phenomenal, rotation's great, and the offense just scrapes by enough. And it's one of those teams where assuming they sneak in, not sneak in, but they finish off the division, and don't let someone else sneak in is more so my point. I still wouldn't want to play them. And I think whether you look at them or the one other race I do want to talk about, it's a little bit closer. We really didn't come to a resolution on NL East between the Atlanta Braves and the Mets. Who wins that one? Like we just kind of assume both of them are in, which is true. But the difference between being a division winner and a wild card winner, like that's a big difference.
All right, hot take. The Braves will win the division, but the Mets will go deeper in the postseason.
Okay.
I'm looking at right now, like
that
where
is
that
too many
last
rookies.
Braves Mets series is, because that's going to determine who wins the division, if it's in Atlanta or in Queens.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're sitting 2 teams with 55 losses.
Mets have.
Well, they're playing the Mets once more, so they have a series at the end of the month.
Yeah, it's in Atlanta. It's the Braves division.
Yeah,
Braves are 3 big games. It's like you want those 3 at home.
Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta is playing the Nationals, the Phillies, the Nationals again, then the Mets, then Miami.
My concern with the Braves in the postseason is how much of that team is built on right now on Michael Harris and Spencer Strider.
But you still feel like they're probably a division winner, though.
Yeah. It's different. Winning the division is a lot different than playing good postseason baseball.
Sure. But, I mean, you're a team now. You're probably going to get a bye. I don't see the Cardinals catching fire and getting that bye.
It's exactly what the Cardinals would do, though.
It is what they would do.
That is exactly what the Cardinals would do.
My words later. It's like you get yourself a bye now, and you don't got to worry about the randomness of a wild card. You have the ability to set yourself up. Yeah, it's a lot about Strider and Harris, but you've gotten yourself through the first gauntlet by having a bye. So I think.
And Max Fried has been pitching really well too. Let's not overlook that by any means.
It is pouring rain in San Francisco, and I swear to God, if one of the Dodgers gets hurt in this game, that means nothing because they won't stop. Okay, they're about to call the game. Oh, I was about to get mad. I was about to get real mad. Anyway, Justin Turner singled in Freddie Freeman, and Freddie Freeman runs like a pile of logs falling over. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but it's kind of amazing. I think they're going to pause the game, which is good. That's the thing right now. It's like health. Like the other part of it is who can stay healthy.
Yeah.
The Dodgers have been lucky. DeGrom is back. Let's hope he stays back for the Mets. Health is like the wild card factor that no one can really figure it in. I mean, last year, I honestly think Max Muncy getting injured last season was. I mean, we all know the real reason why the Dodgers sucked last year. Well, they didn't suck, but you know what I mean.
Only the Dodgers could suck and make the NLCS.
Well, the starting rotation was thrown into shambles when they hired it.
Well, not only that, but come one Max Scherzer injury from winning that NLCS. Quite frankly.
Let's see. How many straight postseason appearances do the Dodgers have? Like
9.
10?
10. Minus 10. Division.
I can't help but
wins.
I can't help but notice that their only ring was a Mickey Mouse ring.
Because your team didn't try either, did it?
Okay,
yeah, but we scored runs in the Mickey Mouse series, though. Let's not forget that.
We held the home run series record for the Rangers' home field. Just us in the postseason.
Why did you think going there was a smart idea, Sam?
Yeah, no, there's 2 of us and you're wrong, so don't worry.
I know, that's what I'm like. I'm just kind of sitting here letting it happen. I'm like, I would not have chosen that.
And every single thing that happened in 2020 was a Mickey Mouse something. Fake year didn't happen.
You guys do know that there's an actual Mickey Mouse angel statue in the parking lot, right? There is a team with an actual Mickey Mouse statue, and it's the team that says it's from Los Angeles and isn't.
That's fair.
I say Anaheim
generational talents.
It
No, it's not.
I don't know. I've never been west of Chicago, so
got a lot of hot takes. I'll give you that,
and most of them are wrong.
Yeah, well,
that was a good take.
You mentioned Dylan Cease, and I think that serves as the perfect segue to kind of the next sort of thing we're talking about. Well, obviously, watching these races within the division over the next couple of weeks, but also it's the last time for you to, if you're one of the finalists for any sort of award, MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, to really make your mark at this point. And we want to talk about all of these at least a little bit, but I think the most intriguing one remains Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, AL MVP. Joseph, who's your winner?
It's Aaron Judge until Ohtani's next start, because I go back and forth. I saw Ohtani leads the Angels in all Triple Crown categories: pitching Triple Crown, hitting Triple Crown. I'm like, this is phenomenal. And then you look at Aaron Judge's WRC plus, you're like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. I can't decide. It's frustrating. It's fun to watch, but it's frustrating as someone who might have a vote at some point in his career.
Tavi, what about you?
I mean, my heart says Shohei Ohtani, because as much crap as I give the Angels, they are our neighbors. And also Shohei's just a phenomenal player. The fact that he is a two-way player has to factor in, right? What he's doing on the mound and what he's doing in the box is pretty fantastic. I think Aaron Judge wins it. And it also depends on both of them staying healthy in these next couple of weeks. Hopefully they both do, but there's such I don't know. Shohei has my vote. I think Judge will win it. Let's just put it that way.
That's fair. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think along similar lines. I mean, Shohei Ohtani is the best player on the planet. He has more value to his team than any player will ever have to their team ever again, except for future seasons of Shohei Ohtani. If Aaron Judge put together a measly 4-WAR season, the Yankees are still good. Imagine the Angels without Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, but
Imagine-
conversely, the Yankees are not winning the division if Judge puts up a 4-WAR season.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, even though I just made an argument regarding team success, disregarding team success, like every graphic I see is, oh, Aaron Judge beats Shohei Ohtani in all these offensive categories in very, very small text. Shohei Ohtani also is top 5 in ERA in the
Right.
American leagues. Like,
That's important. That's his whole other job. He has 2 jobs. Aaron Judge has 1 job. Well,
and
fielding,
Shohei
but, like,
Ohtani is like one of the best hitters in the American League still.
He's 4th in ERA plus, and the 3 guys ahead of him have all had their name mentioned as a Cy Young winner at some point this season. Shane McClanahan, Dylan Cease, and Justin Verlander. That's freakishly incredible. You can't describe that.
Like
that is a-
John Heyman just put out his "there's no East Coast bias" thing, and everyone was just like, "You're wrong. There is." That's where the Judge vote kind of comes in, right? Like, there's a lot of East Coast writers, and is it the right time to bring up bias against foreign players? Maybe. I think Shohei has to some extent transcended that just because of how amazing he is, but that is still there, and especially in some of the good old boys who are very much still around and voting, unfortunately.
Yeah. Honestly, at the end of the day, I do think it's going to come down to something simple enough. Does Judge hit 62 or doesn't he? I think if he doesn't hit 62, Shohei still got a chance. I would vote Shohei Ohtani. I think my opinion last year was that if you can do both, you are always going to probably be the most valuable player, even if you're not awarded it. And I think I should stick with my take.
I think 62 home runs.
If you hit 62, though, now you have a narrative on top of. It's like the Miggy Trout MVP race.
Miggy wins a Triple Crown, he gets the MVP.
Miggy had the Triple Crown. Even if Trout was more valuable, Miggy had the narrative of the Triple Crown.
At least Mike Trout got Rookie of the Year as a consolation prize, to be fair.
Right, but it's the same kind of thing. When there's a narrative that's, how do I phrase this? More baseball.
It is still writers voting.
Right. There's a narrative that's very baseball-y, like Triple Crown, like super traditional baseball-y. Roger Maris home run record. A lot of people don't accept Bonds', so he would be their new or Bonds, McGuire, all of that stuff. They don't really accept it because of the steroids and all that coming across.
It's still the AL record.
Right, it's still the AL record, regardless. But it's they could see it as this is actually the record.
Actually, speaking of this thing in Triple Crown, Judge has a shot at the Triple Crown.
So it's and you're going to hear that too. Now maybe he wins 2 out of 3 categories in the Triple Crown.
But what about this?
All right.
I mean, he's hitting 312. RIS is hitting 316. It is close.
What if Ohtani puts up 2? Because he's probably going to have 2 more starts. What if he puts up 2 more starts like he did last night? 7 innings, no run ball, and puts his name in the Cy Young discussion too.
I think
it gets so much closer after that.
I'm of the opinion the additional contributions have to come from the offensive side because he's trying to beat out another hitter. He has to show he's that much better on the hitting side. That's my opinion. If he puts up 2 more great starts and puts himself in Cy Young, great. I mean, he should already be there. He's going to probably finish top 4, 5, 6 Cy Young.
But I would probably put him top 3 in Cy Young. Probably steal votes from Verlander because of the West Coast writers, and probably give the award to Cease because of that. And then you're looking at he just decided the Cy Young race by himself.
Right.
And is still a phenomenal hitter on top of that. That's a lot of value.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you can really make an argument if he pitches more 2 more starts of lights out pitching, and he throws in another 2 weeks of 150, 160 OPS plus ball. How can you say no? Regardless of what Aaron Judge does, I think there are
I just think it's going to be such a narrative thing. I think there's a better shot if Judge doesn't hit 62.
I feel like we've reached the point where Ohtani is so good it's boring.
Well, yeah, now it becomes the Trout effect, essentially.
Like all these writers are gonna be he'll point to like people like us who are like, actually Shohei Ohtani and provides more words. Just the fact that like you think we're just like these nerds.
Is that what you think nerds sound like?
It's what baseball writers think nerds sound like. So it's what we think nerds sound like by association.
I do think that remains the most interesting one. I don't know what the resolution. I still would like to see what Judge does in terms of what he's chasing 5 homers over the next 20 or so games.
He has 59.
Oh, he's 59?
Yeah, he hit 58 and 59 today.
Oh, he hit 58 and 59. Okay, so he has to hit 3 in 15 to 20 games?
He can do that in his sleep.
I don't know. He might get that. Like,
my friend texted me and he's like, "What is Judge on pace for?" And he's on pace for 66.
If he hits 66 home runs, it's his.
If
and whether or not you agree with it, it's going to be the narrative piece that drives it. I think
if he hits anything, I feel like there's still a conversation if he hits less than 65. Like I think a 64 home run Judge season, but then Shohei Ohtani, which like is amazing for the next 2 weeks as well. It'll be split.
I'm very curious for this.
I'm thinking this like
at this point we'd all give it to Ohtani, but we don't think he would. Is that the general consensus?
Yes,
pretty much.
I'm leaning Judge just based on how well he performed today. But then Ohtani's going to do something tomorrow. I'm like, okay, no, I'm giving it back to Shohei.
It is mid-September, and you're still on a day-to-day basis. That's how close this is.
It's a cool race.
Yeah,
that's why I like. I think
this reminds me of Votto Stanton to an extent.
Yeah,
because everyone's like, "Oh my God, Giancarlo Stanton hits all these home runs,"
and now he's doing this, and then this, and
then then everyone just overlooks how freaking good Joey Votto was that year.
It makes
I was sad he got hurt.
Yeah. It makes for a fun couple weeks though with this run down here. So let's see. What do you guys think is the next most intriguing?
I want to say it's got. I think NL Rookie of the Year is pretty intriguing.
All right, and who's winning it for you?
Yeah, what's Michael Harris up to these days?
Is Dalton Varsho still a? No, I'm just kidding.
Only you would bring up like a mildly relevant.
James Outman's numbers are better than Michael Harris, therefore it is James Outman.
He's like what 20 games. I think that Michael Harris deserves it. I think Spencer Strider will get it.
So Strider becomes the wild card in this because of what he's been able to do.
I mean, he's just like so like he's such a fun guy to watch.
Right.
And then it just becomes a question of whether like a full season of 2.7 ERA ball is more or less valuable than a season of 900 OPS ball. And you have to just weigh that. And they're on the same team.
Right.
Which is just insanity.
Which exactly when you start like, oh, 2 of the names you just mentioned, oh, those are both Braves players. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Oh, God.
I
do think the narrative around Harris is stronger because they can be like, oh, he's the hometown kid.
Mm-hmm. I mean, narratives will continue to play a part in this.
I love with Rookie of the Year especially. Like, I think narrative ball is so much fun. Like with MVP, it's kind of infuriating, but with Rookie of the Year, it's like if a guy puts up a storied career, who really cares whether he won Rookie of the? If we're talking Michael Harris MVP, like Michael Harris Hall of Fame conversations in 25 years, who cares whether he wins Rookie of the Year now?
Right.
Like
it'll be intriguing stuff there. Joseph, Tavi, your thoughts on Rookie of the Year in the NL?
I have
Michael Hot Wheels Harris will lose to Spencer Strider. Just had to throw Hot Wheels Harris for Diego, but Strider has just been something else. Like it has clicked for him, and it's truly one of those like if you have MLB TV, you are gonna find Spencer Strider every time he's starting over most guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of it. Is like who do you want to see more in it? I want to see Spencer Strider more, and that's not taken away from anything Harris has done. He took away the center field job from Acuna. And I never thought Acuna was going to lose that position in the Braves outfield. That's how good he's been.
Which is fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I care about the things I care about, and that's pretty much the NL West. And I'm sure I'll change my tune when we face these guys in the playoffs, and we just can't
It's like,
get them out. And it's another Randy Arozarena situation, and we're just like, nah, you know. Yeah, I both of those seem fine. I'm still, a little bit bitter about the Braves getting anything nice, but neither one of those would surprise me.
Okay, you stole Freddie Freeman from them.
No, they dumped Freddie Freeman and we picked him up.
No.
You're both wrong. It was his agent that didn't pass along that offer.
No.
Yes.
That's been disproven. Hasn't that been disproven?
Yeah, it's been disproven.
It's been disproven.
Oh my God,
there was a lawsuit. There was a defamation suit. That guy just made it up. And he got, and he literally released a statement saying, "Now that I've been served with the lawsuit, I see that what I said was untrue." No, they replaced him. But here's the other thing. Justin, I almost called him Timberlake. Justin Turner has been recruiting Freddie Freeman actively. Like every time he got on first base during the 2020 season, every time he's like, "You should come play for us. You should come play for us. You should come play." It was a deep move. And I don't know that anyone else would. I don't know that anybody else didn't recruit him that hard, but Doc and JT and I think Mookie left a wedding or somebody left a wedding to
Mookie left his own wedding.
Yeah. So we didn't do any stealing. We did welcoming. We did
weddings come and go, but the best 1, 2, 3 in baseball history is forever.
1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. Everybody forgets about Will Smith. Freddie himself would remind you about Will Smith.
Say, how about that NL MVP race?
Way to transition, Sam. But the other one I do want to talk about, at least for sure, because I do think it's one of the closer ones still, is AL Cy Young. Has not really been determined. And, you have a guy like Ohtani who really isn't talked about in the top 4 or top 3. You really hear Justin Verlander, Shane McClanahan, Dylan Cease.
I mean, Cease, I think, appears on the top most often.
He is the betting.
But Ohtani's got, Ohtani does lead in wild pitches, so there's that.
Because he lives on the wild side.
Yeah, is he effectively wild? I mean, he's pretty effective, but he's pretty wild. So
I think it's a tough conversation because you have guys like Verlander, McClanahan who lost some ground because they were hurt for a little bit. I mean, it's hard to kind of. What are the voters going to care about at the end of the day? I don't know.
See, I think we saw from the Robbie Ray win last year that earned runs and innings pitched are really all that matter until it gets really close. And Verlander on a pure ERA basis is as close to McClanahan, about as close as McClanahan is to Alek Manoah.
I do think at the end of the day, a 1.87 ERA, that'll probably.
It's 1.78.
Or 1.78.
He's just electric. I don't care that he's injured.
So
and for as good as Dylan Cease has been, I can't get over the fact that those 10 unearned runs are just sitting there as kind of an elephant in the room.
Okay, you watched that Dodgers game, though, when he gave up 6.
I did see that, you know what I mean?
We saw it.
Yeah, but if you're that good, you cap it at 1 or 2.
Okay, I think it should go to Verlander.
I do think it will be Verlander.
And I think he even fits the narrative. He's like, oh, he just came back from Tommy John at age 39 and he's tearing up the league just like he used to. That's a great narrative.
It still becomes the narrative thing. I do think at the end of the day.
I mean,
he's also right now only 4 games behind Cease, which is, I mean, it is starting pitching, but that's not wildly different.
Right.
And his ERA starts with a completely different number, and he's the only one in the AL who starts with that number right now. So
he's the only one in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
and I that's how I kind of look at it. Yeah, you can make a lot of different arguments, but at the end of the day, when your ERA starts with a 1, you're probably.
I mean, even then, even if you like the old school voter, he leads the AL in wins.
Yeah.
He's so good that he fits the old school narrative.
Right. You're getting in there. I don't. I don't think it'll be particularly close either. I do think second and third between McClanahan and Cease will be close. I do think, for as much as I'm the biggest Dylan Cease fan in the world, I do think it's probably going to be a Verlander run.
Yeah, it's a Verlander win, but I would vote for Dylan Cease, despite what I just said about him. Like, he's just been that good this year.
I knew I liked you anyway, Joseph.
Well, I'm just gonna take a peek at the White Sox schedule and see. See what they're up against.
The Cy Young, more than anything, is subject to change in the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, season ending today means nothing.
Right.
I don't know what their rotation's like, but they're playing Cleveland and Detroit this week, then Minnesota, San Diego, and Minnesota again.
I feel like he could get lit up one of those times if he faces Cleveland.
I think he's going to face. I believe he's on schedule to face Cleveland, Minnesota, San Diego. So
one of those teams is going to blow him up.
And the Houston has
blow him up, but
outings.
Yeah,
Houston
has Tampa, Baltimore, the Diamondbacks, Tampa, Phillies. So it's a pretty even-ish schedule. I mean, how's Tampa? Actually, I haven't even checked in on Tampa.
I do think though, if
Tampa's good and boring as per usual.
I mean, Verlander would have to have a bad stretch there.
Is Verlander off the IL? I didn't check.
Yes, he started a couple days. So he's back. He would have to have a bad stretch there. I truly do think it's Verlander's to lose.
I mean,
and I don't think he's particularly.
I will say, if he wins this, may as well induct him into the Hall of Fame right now.
I mean, he's first round.
39.
First ballot, yeah.
I mean, he's kind of.
I mean, if his the only thing really counting against him in my book is his 2017 and his idiot brother, but those are all sentimental things.
It's like saying Mahomes is bad because his brother makes TikToks.
Yeah, except his brother's really dumb. So
but,
that's what I'm saying. It's all sentimental things. There's on paper, he's.
I think something that every great athlete has to accept is that their siblings will be annoying.
Going to be idiots.
They're going to be annoying idiots, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, there's only so much good juice in the family, and someone drinks it all when they get famous.
Well, Ben Verlander has made a career off of being Justin Verlander's brother, so.
Yeah, you got the idiot juice. It's fine.
Well, speaking of the Cy Young race, I have to bring this up because my dad would kill me if I didn't talk
about this.
This
is a great segue right there.
Yeah.
Alcantara is probably going to win the National League Cy Young. However,
definitely,
he has been pushing me since last year to push the Julio Urias Cy Young narrative. So I'm going to just bring it up here. Do we think Urias has a chance?
He would have to be if he goes the rest of the season nowhere in runs, he has a shot.
Here's my thing too, though. When the number of innings you have pitched starts with a 2 and then has 2 zeros after it, there are going to be a lot of people who credit you for being able to have over 200 innings and a 2.43 ERA. So with Alcantara,
if Alcantara only went 6 every night, his ERA would start with a 1.
You're at that point where it's like, yes, Julio Urias in a typical season, probably. I mean, even this season, he'll probably get some down ballot votes. I think it's kind of the same thing with the Verlander argument, is that there are guys you can spin a narrative, and Urias is one of them. You can spin a narrative, but it's probably not the most popular one, and that's kind of where it falls off.
I will say, I think
because on a rate basis, Urias beats Alcantara in basically everything.
There you go.
But Alcantara just threw his 4th or 5th complete game today. 5th. So how can you really argue with that? You know what I mean? In the age of pitchers don't pitch deep into games, he's not only pitching deep into games, but doing it really, really well too.
But if we're talking about narratives, we do have to remember the kerfuffle at the All-Star game when Kershaw started over
Alcantara.
And I think some writers are going to remember that. And because that was the thing. It was like, let Kershaw have the ASG. He can win the Cy Young. And I feel like it's been everybody's been kind of sitting on that ever since. Unless he collapsed. I mean, I think when you guys said it, it's his to lose. I think unless he absolutely collapses, he's got it. And he should, because it's great. Urias he's a phenomenal pitcher. I'm so glad he's pitching for us. But he's also part of an outstanding rotation who, I mean, if you look at the leaderboard, there's a lot of other Dodger pitchers in those top 10s for various things, the good ones, not the bad ones. And I think the part of it too is that he is one guy in a fantastic rotation. If he was on another team where everybody else was garbage and he could have a standout season as compared to his other starters, that might be a different narrative. But his, I guess, like blessing and curse is that he's got on a team with Gonsolin and Kershaw, and well, maybe not Kershaw as much, but Tyler Anderson, these win narratives and things like that. He didn't get run support in a couple games, so he doesn't have as many wins. But like that talking about the narrative, Sandy has that locked up. He also has 3 more war than Urias, which whether or not you believe in war, it's around about that. Like I think it's his. Again, I'm a homer. I will absolutely throw a Dodger player on the top of a list at any moment for any reason, for no reason. But I think Sandy's got it.
And you can make the argument too that Urias is not even the best pitcher on that staff, because Gonsolin
if Gonsolin hadn't been injured,
or supposed to be the second place finisher for the longest time before he went down.
Yeah. But I mean, the other part of it is the Dodgers don't play for the individual awards, right? Like that's the big deal. We've had multiple pitchers pulled with no hitters going. I think Kershaw's been pulled twice with no hitters going now, and that's not what it's about. It's about the whole narrative. That's not to say that other teams don't play that way, but like Miami is not got a lot of other things going for it, and so it's a better story. And again, it's writers who vote for these, so I think just the numbers support the narrative here very strongly.
I think there will never be a good narrative around the Dodger winning an award, because you can never
look at you just stirring the pot.
I do agree with that, because that 2017 team before that incredible collapse in September was going to be one of the greatest teams ever, and no one in that team finished top 5 in MVP voting that year.
You can never make the argument that a Dodgers player single-handedly propelled their team to the playoffs. No one player on that team made them get to the playoffs. Mookie Betts isn't there. They're still they're still a great team. No Trey Turner, great team. No Julio Urias, great team. Like, there's no.
I mean,
scoring over there.
No,
go ahead.
I think Justin Turner should win the Roberto Clemente Award, but other than that, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Roberto Clemente Award.
When do they announce that? End of the year?
It's not out. It's voting's happening right now, and
I think it's at the World Series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Probably
that's
that
right.
sounds about right.
That's right.
And I just realized I didn't vote for him today, so I'm gonna go do that real quick.
Look at you. While Tavi votes, NL MVP and AL Rookie of the Year, we haven't touched those yet. Do you want to talk about both of those briefly as we head towards the end here? AL Rookie of the Year. Anyone got a favorite?
Who's Adley Rutschman? I love Julio Rodriguez, but Rutschman has been like incredible at the most premier defensive position in baseball.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to I think Rutschman should win it, but I think you're kind of discounting J-Rod. He is just Julio Rodriguez. It's he in a normal year he should win it.
That's a fair argument.
There is not this is a very rare year where there are two I think generational talents, rookies at the same time.
That's a fair argument.
And I really think that turns into a situation where who really cares who wins it?
Yeah.
They're both going to be really, really good for a very long time.
And they're probably not going to win any MVPs because they're in the same league as Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout.
Exactly.
Better question is when will Mike Trout ever decline? Will he be 40? Will he be 50? Who knows?
Let's round it out with NL MVP. Tavi, you have any thoughts?
I mean, Freddie Freeman.
Come on.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Again, I'm kidding. I don't care as much about individual awards like this. I think it's great to highlight players who are, on teams that aren't necessarily contributing as much in the postseason. But
Paul Goldschmidt.
Goldschmidt. I mean, it's Goldschmidt, probably. Yeah.
Joseph,
As a person who has nightmares about Paul Goldschmidt in a Diamondbacks uniform once a week, I am glad he is finally getting the recognition that he quite frankly deserves.
Just not on the Diamondbacks anymore.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like me being a Reds fan, seeing like Castillo and Suarez on the Mariners. Like, good for you. You're on a good team now. You go help win them a World Series. We believe in you.
Don't let me remember all those days he used to pitch with us. Not bad. But yeah, so that kind of rounds out our awards talk. I'm sure things will change because we had some of these conversations. A lot of these are still, they can go one way or another, especially when it's pitching based in the Judge Ohtani case and in the AL Cy Young race. I'm very curious to see how the narrative spin, and I think it will make for some exciting stuff as the season ends. But as we start to wrap up here, we'll kind of end with our final segment. Some final thoughts from each of our panelists here. Usually we do like a what to watch for segment. It's kind of the same thing, except we can only talk about so much on a podcast, and everyone wants to talk about, has something to talk about that sometimes just doesn't make it on there, and that's what we're running out our final thoughts with. So, Tavi, we'll start with you.
Sorry, what was the question?
Final thoughts.
Justin Turner. I'm a bad person. Final thoughts on the end of the season?
No, your final thoughts on what you wanted to say to end this, and it starts with D and ends with Price.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so David Price.
This is a high quality.
Look, guys, the game started again. We're playing against the Dodgers. I'm terrified someone's going to slide and break their leg on the field.
Nominated material is what goes on this podcast, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, actually, I did work on an Emmy-winning film, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Well, you're going to need to save us on this one, too.
So yeah, David Price announced that he was retiring. It's not a huge surprise. I know it was a real struggle for him to come back after the 2020 season. He is Dodger legend because he paid minor leaguers in a time when Major League Baseball was refusing to. So he's in my good book for sure. He also did during pandemic did a lot of work in the Nashville community. He also I don't know if you guys know this, is very active with the Nashville Stars, which is a initiative to try and get a Major League Baseball team into Nashville, Tennessee.
I did not know that.
I'm very excited about that. I know he's not the only player who is involved, but he is involved. He definitely has donated that in conjunction with this, because there's not an actual team. They also do a lot of outreach in the community, youth outreach, baseball community, especially within the Black community. The Nashville Stars, I believe, is named after a Negro Leagues team. So they have a focus on that community. And I mean, Mookie Betts and David Price both came from Nashville. So there's definitely talent to be found there. I just think he's I know he had a rough go of it at Boston. And I think he has said that he, was kind of contentious back, but it's Boston. So what do you do? I think he's probably enjoyed his time in LA. I really, 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 really want to send him home with a ring. And I think this is the team that's certainly capable of doing it. But I think baseball is gonna miss David Price, but I also think David Price is gonna stay active in baseball. I'd love to see him come back and have a Magic Johnson-esque role in a Nashville professional team expansion, either moves or expansion team. I don't know if the A's would move there or not. They're looking to get out of town, so maybe. But
no, they're going to Vegas.
They're very low on the list. Nashville's very low on the. It's always mentioned when they're doing the deep cuts, but I think expansion team is much more likely. But I think David Price might be done on the mound, but I think he's definitely not done with baseball, and that I'm really excited to see what his next chapter is.
Yeah, and congratulations to David Price on this retirement. Sam, your thoughts, your final thoughts?
I say that we neglected to mention that Albert Pujols is still destroying baseballs.
Yup.
He has 698 home runs.
We will likely be on one of the next 2 weeks of this podcast be discussing a player who hit their 700th home run, and it will probably be one of the last times we do it.
Like I think the next guy who I think has any remote kind of shot to get even close is I don't know, like maybe Aaron Judge if he plays till he's 45. Like,
again, it's a wild thing that we will get to talk about. And it's talked about so much. It's almost like at the same time, it feels like it's not talked about enough.
It's like
in such a weird.
Like this hasn't happened since what, like 2000 and like whenever Barry Bonds hit number 700. It's
Right.
a big deal.
Exactly.
Like sure, it's a big deal when someone hits 500. And it's like 700, like that is like, yeah, of course. Albert Pujols should. I don't know what Albert Pujols should get for hitting 700, but he should get something.
I'll be in left field at Dodger Stadium if he hits 699 before the series in Los Angeles next weekend for all 3 games. Going to try and catch 700.
I do think there should be an Old Man of the Year award.
I mean,
the best
one
player
one
over...
award that we didn't talk about is Comeback Player of the Year. I think maybe Goldschmidt also wins that.
What do you mean it's going to Verlander?
Yeah. I mean, if there's a sentimental vote, I think maybe Pujols, but that's a very sentimental vote.
He came back from his $200+ million contract to B-League average and hit some home runs. Wasn't inspirational.
He survived the Anaheim Angels.
Oh my God, he has a 143 OPS plus. Didn't even realize that. He's good.
I wonder how many walks he racks up between now and then. Like how many intentional walks? Like, because again, we've brought this up before. You don't want to be the guy, right? Like you don't want to be.
I think that someone in the next couple days is going to groove pitches for him so he can get into 699. Yeah, I mean, like I don't know. Well, you don't intentionally walk Albert Pujols. You just don't.
Yeah, I think that's how you get like jumped in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because you're not only robbing him of it, you're also robbing the players of the chance to say I was there, or the fans of a chance to
like
say
if you're like, I don't know, if you're some mediocre starting pitcher, let's say you're, I know he doesn't play anymore. Let's say you're Mike Leake, just signed by a major league team, come back and play baseball. Or you're like, I'm going to intentionally walk Barry Bonds. Like, no, not Barry Bonds, Albert Pujols. Of course you intentionally walk Bonds, but
right.
It's like, am I back?
Yes.
Yeah.
You left?
I thought you were just being very contemplative.
No, I was frozen. All right. Way to keep the conversation going and end it there. Love it. But Joseph, your final thoughts.
I think one thing that kind of unifies everything we've been talking about today is we really need to appreciate this season of baseball we have, because it could go down, quite frankly, as one of the greatest seasons of baseball ever played. You have the Dodgers putting in their chance to be the greatest team to ever play, going through an entire gauntlet in the National League playoffs this October. Albert Pujols will hit career home run number 700 this year. Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge may be the greatest MVP race we have ever seen. And there's so much young talent, so much fun talent around the game, and just everything that has happened this season. It's going to be one we will talk about years down the line. And I just want to appreciate it while it's here.
Yeah, even the wild card race has been like neck and neck and neck. There's been excitement.
Seattle will have playoff baseball for the first time in 21 years. I don't want to go to Safeco Fields if I'm an opposing team.
That's T-Mobile Park to you.
T-Mobile Park, I'm sorry.
Either way, you're very correct in the fact that, yes, this is a year where we're talking about a lot of things that we don't tend to get to talk about, and it's pretty exciting to get to do that.
Well, I feel like last year was very like, oh yeah, wow, Shohei Ohtani's going to win this MVP and like whatever. Like,
right.
The award race intrigue just wasn't there last year. And
I think you're kind of finally starting to see, and it's kind of like my final thought is you're starting to see what it really would take to dethrone a perennial Shohei Ohtani MVP. It's a 60-something season, home run season from a player such as Aaron Judge, which, again, says a lot about Ohtani, says a lot about the year Judge is having. And to Joseph's point, says a lot about the year of baseball we're getting this year, which has been phenomenal.
I think the offseason and where Ohtani lands is going to be wild as well.
That will be he's
got an arbitration year, I think, left, but
he's probably out of
Oh yeah, Shohei Ohtani does not want to continue to be a Los Angeles Angel.
They got to get something for him before.
Oh yeah, everyone forgets Aaron Judge is a free agent after this year.
Future San Francisco Giant Aaron Judge. Can't wait to hate him.
We've got.
I mean, that's another scandal that happened.
going-
They were selling Dodgers merch inside Oracle Park this weekend. Like, there's a guy inside Oracle Park selling completely like Dodger hats, Dodger everything, and the rumors so that they can afford Aaron Judge. But you know what? More power to him. Go for it.
That's for an exciting offseason.
He is going to make so much money on a 7-year deal.
Yeah.
Your San Francisco trade 4 tech bros to the New York Yankees, and the salary should be equivalent.
I mean, like, they haven't really spent a lot of money. They've been very
nah.
conservative. They have been,
Yeah.
and all their veterans are gone. They've got a lot of young dudes who are still under contract control. It's not a stupid move. It would be a smart move for them to try and do that.
Nah,
And then we've got
San
Soto to the south and Judge to the north, and the Dodgers are gonna be tired again next year.
I think it's like going to be like the San Francisco Giants have actually sold the team in order to afford.
Aaron Judge.
I don't know if we talked about that or not, but did you hear that they're the first MLB team to hire a wine sommelier?
Did not hear that.
That is the thing that happened.
I heard that, but you know.
Yeah, well, if you read my weekly column about the NL West, you'll know that was the most interesting thing they did like last week. Yeah, so there's some money there.
Yeah.
They're courting the expensive bros. There's money to be had.
It's fair.
Wine moms, just sell live, laugh, love merch in the Giants colors, and you'll have enough money in no
Trying to
time.
hit for it, Aaron Judge.
Dunzo.
I mean, yeah, you know those tech bros and those wine moms. It's all San Francisco.
Really
is.
financing everything. Yeah.
It's
Dude,
just
if they just added a kink night, that would be the San Francisco trifecta.
Oh my god!
What a way to end this one. I don't know how to segment out of this. That's going to do it for us. What a way to end it. Thank you as always to everyone who listens, and you make it to the end, and you get to hear something different every week. Make sure to tune in, follow along with us. Diamond_Digest is the Twitter handle. Diamond.digest is the Instagram. We do our Sunday night watch parties. We've got TikTok now, which someone smarter and cooler than me is running. And they're doing a phenomenal job at it. Then make sure, of course, to watch out for our weekly articles. Diamond-digest.com. It's where you can find all of our fabulous writers. Tavi has her weekly NL West segment that goes out. Make sure to take a look at that if you're interested. And for Sam, Joseph, and Tavi, this is Jordan signing off in one of the weirdest ways possible. It is harder and harder to segment from segment to segment with you guys, but always enjoy. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks as always for listening and supporting. Take care, and we'll talk to you next week.